Greetings, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Spinistry Chat. I am your race host, Kevin Lee, and today we are going over details of our straight to hill gravel ride with racing options presented by our friends at Insurance for Texans. And consider this our virtual riders slash racers meeting because of COVID-19 restrictions. We are having to do wave starts. It's not going to be practical to do a full riders meeting with each and every wave. So without further ado, we're going to go over some of the details on breaking down how the waves work on the front end. Then we'll go over the facilities overview for parking and restrooms and how we're going to do things. And then we'll go over route details themselves. But let's go ahead and start with the different waves themselves and the timings for them. Now, right now, we're starting with the 100K and the 50K riders. The 100-mile riders will be starting earlier in the morning, but I just want to show the time sequences here. So each of these groups, each of these tabs that you see here is going to be a group of 10 or less, and it's critically important for everyone to show up for their specific wave. If you show up prior to your wave, you won't be able to check in and get your number. If you show up after your wave, you can probably still ride, but your time may not be correct. It'll just depend on how much we're going to be really busy launching all these waves. I'll just leave it at that. It's going to be hard for us to go outside the structure. So essentially the way it works, like our first 63-mile ride starts at 8:45 a.m. The idea will be at 8:30, these riders will check in and get their numbers, and we will line them up appropriately with appropriate social distancing to start at 8:45. As soon as this group goes off, the 9 a.m. group is able to check in, and we do them. As soon as that group goes off, the 9:15 checks in, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So if you've already signed up, please verify which group you're in and using the sign up page here. Verify your start time. Your check-in will be 15 minutes prior to your start time. If you show up earlier than that, we're not going to be able to check you in. The whole idea is to provide a safe environment without too much gathering of people of 10 or less, and we'll launch everybody in these waves every 15 minutes. One thing I also want to point out is if you are signed up for the event and you're wanting to know where the routes are, or you're planning to sign up for the event and you want to know where to find the Ride with GPS files, you go to the sign up page, scroll down, past the place and description, and there will be a link for routes. If you click on that, that will take you to the Ride with GPS routes page. And then you'll be signed up for the routes, and you can see the different routes and download them. And you'll also have access to the premium services of the Ride with GPS app at no extra charge. That is included. Now, this is an overview of all the three routes combined together. As we traditionally do, we try to make sure the routes share as much mileage as viable. Basically, what's west of this blue line here, that's really the only spot where the 100-mile differentiates itself from the 100K route. And this little red bisect here, that's one spot where the 33-miler shortens up a little bit of the 100K, and then there's one other spot here. But the rest of it is all shared route amongst all three routes. The route was verified yesterday. We'll be marking course tomorrow. Everything should be good to go. We're going to bring up the 100-mile route, but zoom in on the staging area, show folks how everything's going to work in the morning for parking and restrooms and everything else. And then we'll go over the individual routes themselves for mileage for the water stations and stores when available and things like that. So here is the 100-mile route. We're going to go ahead and zoom in on the staging area. It will be at Wallace Park. Because of COVID restrictions, we are going to be doing things slightly differently than usual. If you've been to our Hillsborough events before, we're still using the same pavilion and staging area. One thing we are going to do differently is we're going to close off half of this parking lot that's right at the pavilion. Realistically, if you're not a 100-miler, you're not going to be able to park here, because we're going to space out cones for everybody to, once they've checked in, go hang out by a cone. That's going to be proper social distancing from the other riders. And here's another thing that's very important. Please do listen closely. The expectation is no drafting. Obviously, we can't enforce that. We're not going to be out on course telling people don't draft. We bring this up because we don't know what people's individual comfort levels are for safety. It's not appropriate for you to come up on somebody's wheel and ride their wheel if there's somebody that's not comfortable being close to other people. We're not gonna police that. If you're riding with your immediate family or your friends, I mean, if that's something you want to work out with each other to say, hey, we can ride together and you're safe with that, you're comfortable with that. If you're not doing a timed race, that's fine. You know, everyone's personal comfort level and safety level is perfectly fine. We're gonna courteously ask anyone that's actually racing for the best time possible to go with like triathlons and time trial rules. Just don't draft off each other. Give it your best effort. If you're coming up to pass someone, announce yourself. And don't ask, hey, is it okay if I ride your wheel? You know, people are subject to peer pressure. You may ask that of somebody and then they may say, okay, I guess. And they may not really mean that, but they may be uncomfortable telling you no, they prefer that you don't. So let's just assume that people don't want everyone riding each other's wheels, and just go out there and do an individual effort. Just plan on that at the moment. So we will be doing, we'll start our groups of 10 or less with pylon spacing and go out on course. The main parking area will be over here for most riders. Once that fills up, there's a couple of options. There's another small parking lot here. I wouldn't recommend that. If you're coming later in the day, my actual recommendation is to go a little bit, make this turn towards Wallace Park, but instead of going all the way to the pavilion, go over here towards this ball field area. There's a large parking area here, and you can just pedal your bike right on through and come through this way. Realistically, if you're getting there later than 9 a.m., probably you want to just plan on parking over in this big parking lot here. I believe there are restrooms here. I haven't verified if they're open or not. I'll check that tomorrow when I'm marking course. We will have restrooms here. There will be hand sanitizer in each of the restrooms, but we're not going to be going in there and cleaning up after everyone. So my recommendation is to try to do your restroom business before you get up there if needed, but we will have them on site. One thing that is getting a little bit turned upside down from our original plans, virus is definitely kind of going next level with stuff. Originally, we planned to be serving food in a very safe manner for this weekend's event. It doesn't look like that's appropriate at this time. We'll have some cold drinks and snacks there when you finish your ride, but unfortunately, we won't be providing Spinistry Chow this time around, but there will be cold drinks and snacks after the ride. So that's the overview of the staging area itself. Again, the important thing to remember is plan to check in 15 minutes prior to your event start time. And the way you can verify your start time, if you go to the main sign up page, find a participant, find your name, it says which group you're in. So if you don't remember your start time, like Tammy Barnett is in the 63-mile gravel race, 50 and over women. If she wanted to verify her start time, she would just then go to the main page. 63-mile gravel race, 50 and over women, starts at 9:30 a.m. So she would need to plan to be there at 9:15 to check in for a start at 9:30. Now, obviously, you can get there a little bit earlier. We're not expecting people to come sliding sideways into the parking lot right at 15 minutes prior. You can get there a little bit earlier, get warmed up, get your equipment ready, hang out at the parking lot for that, and then just come over to check in at that 15-minute prior to start time is kind of the idea there. So what we'll do now is we'll go over some details first on the 100-mile route as far as amenities and things like that. And then we'll do the 100K route and then the 50K route. We have opted to go in for all three routes, basically a clockwise direction. We were considering the counterclockwise direction. The feedback we got back on that question was generally people didn't want to finish with a headwind. We are going to be having, it's forecast at 5 to 10 mile an hour winds out of the southeast. So if we finish this long stretch here into a headwind, seems to be that's not what people wanted. So we've opted to go clockwise. And in that instance, for the 100 milers, at mile 39, there will be a convenience store. That will be your first opportunity for hydration and refueling. The 100-mile route is considered self-navigated. So basically, when you split from the 100K route, you will need to be following GPS navigation to follow the route. And on this 100-mile only leg, the only amenities will be this convenience store in Covington. It is a CEFCO, I believe. After that, that's at mile 39. After that, 100 milers will be going by another convenience store at approximately mile 67 in Itasca. And then there will be a water table, and this will be a shared water table with the 100K route at mile 75-ish. And these will be sealed water bottles. This won't be a water jug. We'll have sealed water bottles there, individual servings there, and there will be a trash can there as well. Please don't fiddle through all the different water bottles. Just grab one, open it up, pour it out, and fill your water bottle, whatever you need to do. And there should be enough there for you to grab two if needed. So when I say grab one, just grab one at a time. Just don't throw your paws on every single water bottle on the table. And then there will be another water table, and this one will be shared with all three groups at approximately mile 95. So with about 10 miles to go, there will be another water bottle there at that point. Most likely in this case, we would ask that people only grab one water bottle. One water bottle should be able to get you 10 miles, we would expect. And then at the finish, like I said, we'll have cold drinks and some snacks there. So if you need a Coke or a Dr. Pepper or something like that at the end, we'll have some more water bottles there as well. That'll be waiting on you. So that's the 100-mile route overview. Let's go ahead and look at the 100K. So for the 100K route, you'll have a convenience store in Itasca at about mile 25 and a half, mile 26. You'll have that shared water table at mile 34 with the 100 milers. And then the shared water table with all riders at about mile 54, again with about 10 miles to go. And then finally, the 33 milers, we call it our 50K route. It's about 33 miles. Open this one up. And in this case, you guys will just have one water table shared with the other routes. at about mile 23. Again, about 10 miles to go. Now, since we are splitting up all of the groups the way that we are, and we are allowing people to transfer their times if a wave is full for competitive purposes, we won't be having any on-site award ceremonies or podiums, because the reality is what we have to do is combine these times once everything's done. And since everybody's at a staggered start here, the 63 milers that start at 8:45, if there's another one that starts at 10 a.m., that time should be in that same slot. We don't expect somebody that started that far ahead of this group to stick around for awards or anything like that. So we'll combine all the times and get all of the rankings sorted Saturday evening, and we will post final results Saturday night. Not a problem there. But please don't plan to hang around for podiums or anything like that. Unfortunately, that's not going to be practical in this situation. We'll try to get some pictures and stuff for people that finish in their groups towards the front of it. And if that ends up being the ultimate winner, we'll post those pictures and things like that as well. But we just want everyone to realize that we're not going to be having traditional podiums this time around. The focus is definitely to get out there and enjoy the route. We think you're really going to like this route. It looks like the weather's going to be fantastic for everyone. We were hoping we could kind of transition to a more traditional event this weekend. Again, we wanted to have the Spinistry Chow and things like that. Unfortunately, we're getting a pretty heavy duty spike with virus cases. And I know personally, I'm hearing from a lot of people this time around that are dealing with it personally when that hasn't been the case prior to now. So keep our fingers crossed that everything goes well for all of you. We wish you your best. We hope to keep providing you outlets to enjoy yourself and have a good time. But we are definitely going to be focusing on safety this weekend, and as long as is needed, we ask that you help us with that as well, and encourage everyone around you to ride safe as well. See everyone this weekend. Thanks for joining us on this version of Spinistry Chat.